My name is Erika Melek. I was born October 2nd, 1999, and I was born in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada.
When did your family leave Egypt, and do you know why they left?
So my mom came to Canada when she was 18, and my dad, he initially came to the US when he was in his early 20s. I don't know the exact age. Um, they came for different reasons, but ultimately the same reason. I'd say my mom came more as an opportunity for education, a better life more generally, I guess, is why they both came. And my dad said that he came because he just didn't see himself having the life that he wanted if he stayed in Egypt. So they both came for similar reasons, but I think that it was, at the time, my mom thought it was more education than settling down, but then she ended up staying here.
And did your parents meet here?
So they had a priest that my mom knew from her time in Windsor, and my dad also knew him because he spent time in the US. So it's like he was their common like link, I guess. And so when my dad was looking for someone to marry, that Abuna thought oh, I should introduce him to Kheda, my mom. And so even though my dad was, in the US at the time, they made the 2 hour long, drives to meet each other, which was nice.
Why Toronto? Why did your parents decide to settle here?
I think my dad ultimately decided to settle here because it was the best opportunity for his job. He worked with the same company in the US, and when he came to Canada, he stayed with the same company, and I think it was just better for him to climb the ranks here because he had the opportunity with that company. And I think my mom was just more willing to go anywhere where she could settle. She was in Montreal, Windsor, and then ultimately, when they got married and moved in together, they were in Toronto, I think, for that reason.
What kind of struggles or challenges have you faced adapting to family and social circles?
It's gonna sound kind of weird, but I think code switching, it's been very difficult, especially growing up. I think that I was too white for Egyptian people, but I was too Egyptian for white people. And I went to school primarily with white people. I went to a private all girls school. I just remember being really ostracized and feeling really ugly, feeling like nobody really wanted to be my friend. I'd bring Egyptian food to school and stuff, and I just felt like a social pariah. But then I didn't know Arabic. I never learned Arabic conversationally. So, I'd be with family, be with Egyptian friends, be at church, and then, you just kind of get told off for not knowing how to speak Arabic, or you're not really Egyptian, you're white. And so um I think I tried to decide to be one and not both. I kind of wanted to denounce being Egyptian, so I tried really hard to embrace being Canadian. I really didn't like that, and so now I really embrace being a Coptic Egyptian, in tandem with my Canadian identity.
Do you maintain any connections with Egypt? Do you go back there? Do you have family there? Do you send money back there?
Yeah, so a lot of my family actually still lives there. My first cousins and my second cousins, a lot of them still live there. The last time I went was in 2015 or 2016, if I'm remembering correctly. But before the revolution, we used to go every year for Christmas to celebrate with our family. But more recently, in the last few years, my grandparents passed away, so we normally went to go and see them. So now it's just kind of you know there isn't as much of a reason for us to go, but hopefully after COVID we'll be able to go back.
Hopefully. Do you send back stuff? Do you know if anything with that?
um Sometimes electronics or clothes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like food, like they really love like the chocolate here. So like we bring a bunch of chocolate there, and maybe sometimes like Advil, Tylenol, stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
Um and if I'm remembering, yeah, no, I think that's mostly what we take.
Are there any associations or institutions that have helped you and your family when they came to Canada?
I'd say mostly the church. Like the
Yeah,
church, that was also a huge reason that they were in Mississauga, is because the church was established here, I think, in like 1998 in Mississauga, if I'm remembering
St.
correctly.
Mary, so
Yeah, St.
75,
Mary.
yeah, or
Oh,
something.
okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and so, my parents saw that as a good opportunity, as well as many of our parents in the community, as like making that more of like an Egyptian hub, is like we made that, very central to like where we lived because we wanted to be close to the church.
Mhm.
And so I think that for my parents, when they came, they mostly relied on the church to meet people to support them. Like my dad didn't move here with anybody. My mom moved here with her family, so obviously she had a bit of a support system, but my dad was like completely alone. So he was definitely more reliant on the church, and then eventually it became even my, support system as an Egyptian Canadian.
Mhm. Did you feel like Sunday school and like groups like that helped you?
I definitely think that Sunday school was it was a huge opportunity for me to socialize in a different way. I think that the way that I normally socialized, like in my school, it was we didn't have commonalities other than the fact that we were, all girls, or that we liked playing with certain things or what have you. I think in Sunday school, I felt a lot of peace that we all had a common understanding or a common, goal, even if we weren't necessarily like overtly saying that. I just
Mhm.
felt so comfortable, even with like the little, teenage drama or whatever. I still felt, way more comfortable there than I did anywhere else.
What do you keep of your home country? Do you still know the language? Do you have any special customs, foods, mannerisms that you keep from Egypt?
I think the food is really big for me, especially when it comes to our Coptic feasts.
Hmm.
There are certain foods that we eat, especially on certain feasts. And so I think that that's been really important to me and my family, is keeping that, like integrated in our home. And I go to my teta's house often to like learn how to make those things so that, they're still a part of my family when I'm a mom and I want to teach my children about like what it means to be Egyptian.
Hmm.
And I know Coptic. I'm not great with Egyptian, but I learned Coptic. I sing in Coptic. I praise like at church in Coptic, and so that's really big for me in keeping my heritage. And another huge thing is like the artwork and the
Hmm.
music. I absolutely adore Egyptian music and Egyptian artists. And I really love like iconography in the Coptic church. It's really, really special to me. So I think that those are the most important things that I hold with me from my heritage.
And do you speak like a combination of English and Arabic at home?
I'd say my parents do, but I don't really.
Have you noticed any difference in your life or in your family's life when compared to when they first arrived?
Definitely huge differences. I think that, when my mom first came, I think she was used to, how a woman is expected to like act or think or be, like to herself, calm um, person, to being able to, be a leader in the community. She really wanted to be outspoken.
Hmm.
She's very brave. Like a lot of things that I think that people try to suppress maybe
Hmm.
in Egyptian women, she like found a way of just completely, dropping the ball on that. And so I think that since she came, she as a person has changed tremendously.
Hmm.
I think for my dad, I think anything that he wanted to do in his life or to achieve, it just wouldn't have been done in Egypt. And so I think that he was really able to build, you know, his name, his career, all of these things since getting here. And I think that when he first got here, it was a huge, you know, uphill battle to kind of get that recognition, get that respect. There were like a lot of cards stacked against him, and a lot of people that just didn't really like want to see him or like other, you know, immigrants necessarily like succeed.
Yeah.
And so he did like an incredible job of, you know, becoming a partner at the company that he works for, and he's like a very influential person. And I think that they've both, you know, grown to thrive in like really, really inspiring ways that I think, you know, people like my parents that like I look up to, I can't even imagine, like, I think my life is so hard. I can't even imagine, like, you know, leaving everything that I knew, like, at 18 or something, just to come into that, like, environment. I think that I would, you know, completely lose my mind. So I definitely think that they've succeeded in the uphill battle.
What does Egypt mean to you?
There's a lot of things to me. I think most importantly, it's the origin of everything that I love. And there are so many things that I love about the world as it is, but I think that Egypt in itself, it holds, you know, um, an ethno-religious, you know, quality for me, where it's not just my ethnic identity, it's not just my religious identity. Like, both of them stem from Egypt. And although I wasn't born there, I never lived there, I feel a very unique, um, I don't know what the word is.
Experience?
I feel like Egypt does offer a very unique experience, and it in itself, I don't think there's anything like it. Like, I think that it's truly like Egyptian people are truly unique people. And of course everybody is unique, but like I have met, you know, so many amazing Egyptian people, and Egypt in itself is just a beautiful, vast place full of, you know, so much wonder, education, all of these different things. And so I hope to see it grow. But yeah, that's what it is to me.
And do you believe that your feelings on Egypt have changed over time?
I think that the aspect of Egypt that I have always held dear to me isn't, you know, what Egypt is right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Egypt itself, like as a concept, as an origin, as a place where all of these like beautiful things have, you know, grown and sprouted, that's the beauty that I've always seen in it consistently. But I think Egypt as a country, um, my view on it has definitely changed. I think I used to look at it as a very, you know, mystical place, very beautiful place. And I look at it now and it's almost like depleted of what I found so beautiful about it. But at the same time, I don't think that there's anything I don't think we need to hold on to like the beauty of a country to see why it's beautiful, like the physical beauty. I think that Egypt has, you know, created a lot in its entire like history for it to be, you know, a beautiful contribution to like our lives and all of civilization, that, you know, the way it is now doesn't really negate that.